Hey guys, this is Tattooed Alex coming out, actually the first video of 2018. My last video I had was I think about mid-December. We've actually had a pretty mild winter and actually plenty of nice riding days, but unfortunately I had a kind of a personal tragedy here recently. My dad, and I don't recall if I discussed it in other vlogs, but my dad actually had he's been battling stage 4 cancer for since May of last year. He had cancer about 20 years ago, had some radiation, and actually cancer levels all dropped, and then a couple years back radiation levels, or his cancer levels were up again. Had radiation seeds. Unfortunately, those radiation seeds caused a different type of cancer. So he's been in and out of the hospital pretty much since May of last year, when we found out he was diagnosed with cancer. He was on chemo for a couple of months. It actually was doing pretty well on it, was shrinking the tumor. And then a couple of days before Christmas, he went to the hospital for a procedure, and he had to be off of his chemo. And then a couple of different circumstances occurred, and my mom actually ended up going to the hospital for gallbladder surgery during that time frame as well, and it was just been kind of a rough time since Christmas, and unfortunately by the time all the procedures were done, my dad could get back on chemo. They checked his levels, and they had actually tripled. So about a month ago, when he got out of the hospital, they recommended hospice care. My brother and I didn't know a lot about it, home hospice, and they set it up for their place in the Springs, and my dad was just getting weaker and weaker. After about a week, kind of discussing what he wanted and wanted to take care of him, and so he wanted to go ahead and come out to live in my place, and help take care of him. So my mom and dad actually moved in a little bit, a couple of weeks ago, and he was in hospice care at my house for about 3 weeks. And I was actually, my brother, he just bought that Dyna Switchback there a couple of days ago, so we're out riding together. But my dad was on hospice care for just shy of 3 weeks, and today made a week that my dad passed away. We had the memorial service yesterday, so it's been a real difficult time for us. My dad was an iron worker. He was a welder for 42 years, and big, strong guy, so it was very difficult watching him just kind of lose weight and kind of wither away to nothing, and kind of taking care of him, and we actually held his hand as he took his dying breath actually last Thursday. It was very, very emotional. My family was there, my brother's family, my mom, all there, so very, very emotional time. So that's why I haven't had any videos until now. So we did the memorial service yesterday, and beautiful day today, and nothing like getting out on a nice ride just to kind of clear your mind a little bit and help think about things. Instead, my brother actually picked up that bike a couple of days ago, and they had a sale similar to this. I mean, it was 2013. It's actually funny, it's the same blue metal flake on his paint job, but that is a 2013 Dyna Switchback, only had 5,400 miles on it. That thing is fully loaded with everything you could possibly imagine. But we'll probably do some dual motovlogs here, so I'll check back with you guys here in a little bit. And this is why I hate getting on the highway. Looks like, I don't know, there's an accident, something going on down here, but speed limit is 75 miles per hour, and I'm going about 15 right now. So I usually hit one more exit down, but I am gonna call it good and get off at this exit here. But typical I-25 traffic. I'm just south of Denver, just south of what they call the Denver Tech Center here. So let me see here. I wonder how many other cars are getting off. Yeah, because my next exit's about 3¼ miles, and I definitely don't want to ride in this traffic for another 3¼ miles. So, so we went and dropped off my brother over at. He's keeping his bike at his father-in-law's because he's got a pretty full garage, and he still has his electric glide in there that we've got to try and sell. So definitely needed a place for it. So his father-in-law has a pretty big garage and some room in it, not too far from his house, so we're keeping it over there. So his exit's a pain in the butt too, because the left lane eventually merges, but a ton of people typically get in that lane just to make the light and cut in front of everybody. Gets on my nerves, so I usually just hang in this lane, so I'm not trying to cut anybody off. Even on the bike where I could easily get ahead, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna relax here, and it'll probably take me at least 2 lights to get through this. But so back to my dad. So it's definitely a difficult situation for us, watching my dad as sick as he was and seeing kind of progress. But you know, it's always tough. They say you know, it's always harder on the ones left behind. And you know, my dad, he never complained about pain, although I do feel like he was in pain, but he honestly never complained about it. The last couple of days is when we really start giving him some excuse me, some pain medication. One of them was like Ativan, and I can't remember. The other one was, I thought it was Roxanol, which I guess it says a form of morphine, but we were giving that to him. I'm actually shocked they made it through the site. But yeah, we're giving that to him every couple hours, kind of help him with his breathing and just kind of help him relax a little bit. So, but yeah, my dad was never the type to complain about being in pain. He said, even though we felt like he was, and you know, it's crazy. Every time the nurse would come in, they came in twice a week and they check his vitals, and his vitals were always great. His blood pressure, everything was perfect. His oxygen actually was pretty good too, and it was pretty much towards the end. I mean, we thought we were going to lose him a couple of times. He had a pretty high fever. Called a nurse. Nurse came in, actually just gave him some Tylenol, and his fever actually dropped. But we thought for sure we were going to lose him that night, and a couple of times that he wasn't looking too good. And excuse me, 2 days before he passed, he actually brought us all in there, and we could tell he was just at the point where he had it. You know, he brought us all in, kind of said his goodbyes, and next day he pretty much slept the entire day, barely awake. I think he was awake for like less than 10 minutes the night before. Then the following day, I spent the day with him, just kind of holding his hand, real emotional. Just, you know, I didn't know if my dad could hear me or not. And then later on that night, my wife went and sat with him for like about an hour and 15 minutes and holding his hand. And then my brother came over, and about an hour later, you know, my brother's wife is a nurse, so she can kind of see his breathing was getting a little bit erratic and slowing down. And she's like, hey, I really feel like this is it. And pretty much was. He would kind of stop breathing for a couple seconds and breathe, and we just kind of all held his hand and all surrounded him, and it's the way it should be, surrounded by family and love, and passed away. So my dad was 83 years old. We had a very nice memorial for him yesterday. We'd spent the last probably 4 or 5 days going through some old pictures and scanning the pictures into a jump drive that they used to do. We picked some music out, and my brother and I wrote a bunch of speeches. Wives came up, gave a little bit of a speech, and then my daughter came up, and my grandson actually came up as well, just said a real short, I miss you and I love you. So very touching service there. Definitely so difficult for my mom. Yesterday was actually her 51st, it would have been her 51st wedding anniversary, and they've been together for 53 years, so my mom is still having a tough time, but said my mom's living with us now, with my wife and I, so we're taking care of her, so she's definitely not alone in this tough time. So that's pretty much why I said I've been off the bike for so long, is you know, the weekends, even when it was nice, I spent all the time I had available at my dad. I mean, we had plenty of times where like when my mom was in the hospital for gallbladder surgery, I spent the week at my dad's place just helping him out. He was actually getting along pretty well, but just making sure he wasn't alone. My brother and I were kind of switching off, and so we definitely were happy that we were able to spend all the time we did with my dad, and I was happy that they moved up from Florida back in October of 2016. I mean, I just can't imagine if they were still living in Florida at this time and going through. I mean, you know, my work is pretty flexible. I could work from anywhere, and so I worked from home for 3 weeks. So my director was real understanding, but I guess I could have went to Florida and worked from Florida for a while, but you know, obviously the difficulty is not knowing, and that's always a hard part. So I was glad they were in Colorado with us, you know, the way it should be, having family together. So guys, well, hopefully I didn't bum you guys out too much. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a just a little bit of you know, into my personal life, and kind of aware of what was going on. So that I had plenty of days that were pretty nice, could have rode, but just couldn't bring myself to it. I had to spend that time with my dad and my mom, and so so my brother's got his 2013 Dyna switchback, so he's pretty ecstatic with that, and his wife got him a Cena as well, so hopefully we'll connect on that, do some dual motovlogs sometime. So alright guys, well hey, if you liked the video, give me a like, and thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's Tattooed Alex signing off.